Ruzi, I think a lot of people wonder what happened from 2 seasons ago to last Sharks season. Like, where did the team improve or get better? I think the biggest thing I noticed was a culture shift. Did you see that too? And on that note, what did you notice in a culture shift with the Sharks?
Well, some of the building blocks have been going on for the last couple of years, without question of a doubt. I mean, it's the changing of the guard, the tear down of the roster. And so until all of that is done, you really can't establish the culture that you want. But definitely under Coach Ryan Warsofsky and his staff, I saw a step forward for the club, a sense of a compass of the direction that the team is going, and a positive direction. So in my mind, these guys were difficult to play against each and every game. They were fun to be around. They enjoyed each other. They were not happy with losing more games than they won, which I think is an important factor in the culture that has to be accentuated and encouraged. But I do think that the general focus has gone into the right direction for this team.
The conversation probably does have to include Mlin and Will, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I also want to talk about Yaroslav Askarov. We saw enough of him at the NHL level, I think, to get a taste. He obviously had a majority of the rest of his season in the AHL, also had an injury. But what do we make of his first impression and also his projection as a Shark?
All of his impressions are very good. I think, first of all, he's got a big personality. And I think that's something you love to have in a goaltender. He likes to be that good humor guy sometimes in the dressing room, to get people not so focused on the drudgery of the day-to-day and enjoying the game. And I think he does that. I think he does it every time he comes out of the goal crease and handles the puck with 3 guys on him, and does so with confidence and is able to make plays. That drives a coach crazy, I'm sure, but it certainly enlightens his teammates as to what he can do. As far as his goaltending ability is concerned, I think he's projected to be a starting goaltender in the National Hockey League. And if things go well, he could be an elite goaltender in the NHL. And that's why he went 11th overall in the draft, because he had that capability. You know, you look at other goaltenders that have been drafted in the first round. Spencer Knight is a guy that the Chicago Blackhawks have. He's somebody that's still trying to find his way a little bit. On the other side of it, you got Vasilevsky, who went about 20th to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he became an absolutely elite goaltender. So there are little different types of ways you can sort of evaluate these goaltending positions at draft time. But the Sharks have never drafted a goaltender that high, so this is somebody unique that they have. As for the future of the goaltending position for the Sharks, I think it's only partially done, because San Jose really does need to have more than one goaltender in the hopper that's definitely pushing for a starting job. That'll be the next thing that happens. And I'm not talking about a veteran that's here for a couple of years to sort of stabilize things, and sort of the Mike Vernon or the Kelly Rudy back before Yevgeny Nabokov was ready to be the starter. They need another guy like a Kiprusoff type or a Toskala type that can push Askarov to make sure that he's at his absolute best. And so it wouldn't surprise me to see the Sharks continue to, as the drafts go on, pick goaltenders and try to get that next guy.
Kipper, Nabby, and Toskala was the golden age of Sharks goaltending depth. It really was. So outside of 71 and outside of 2, we'll get to them in just a second. Who was another young Sharks player this year that caught your eye, or that you feel not enough people were talking about?
Well, the one player that nobody's talking about is Igor Chernyshov. He's somebody that just got here. He was injured for much of the year. But everything that I'm hearing about this kid is that he might actually be ready to play in the NHL next year. And if that's the case, that's a big, big boost. Aside from him, I'd say that Luca Cagnoni is somebody that's really impressed me, given the fact that Lane Hudson has had such a success with the Montreal Canadiens. You look at the two guys, you say, can Lane Hudson be sort of the future path for somebody like Luca Cagnoni? If he is anything close to that, the Sharks have gotten a steal for a draft pick. And of course, some of the other guys that haven't even gotten here yet. But, we've talked about Colin Graff being a big surprise to the coaching staff. I've just been so impressed with his attention to detail and his ability to make plays and to accept a role that maybe was different than one that he's had before. He wants to be in the NHL, and he wants to be a big part of the team. Those are a couple of names that I think that come to mind. And, of course, we're going to be really excited to see people like Dickinson and whoever they draft, here, Musty coming up as another guy. But these are players that we've talked about a little bit. But I really think that Chernyshov and Cagnoni are two of the ones that I'm looking at.
Cagnoni for Calder 2026. He'll be eligible still next year, but who knows how exactly that goes. Okay, so Will and Mlin. And I don't think you can put them in the same exact class of expectations or whatever. Like they're two different people, two different situations. But I think equally, if you do want to say they're equally impressive in what they did this year, and equally impressive how they're probably ahead of timing that anybody could have expected this past season.
Well, it reminds me very much of some other times in history of hockey where you had two players sort of marinating together and growing together at a very high level. Let's not forget about the fact that it's really difficult to do what they did this season. As teenagers, to step right into the NHL, not really look out of place, have their ups and their downs during the season, but still show tremendous potential. And look at what's happening in the World Championships after the season is over. Yep. They've got Mlin Celebrini and Sidney Crosby not only playing a lot together, not only sitting next to each other in the dressing room and talking all the time, but also taking part in interviews together.
Right.
So I think that there's a great deal of excitement about what he's going to do. I think that Will Smith is sort of the Patrick Marleau of the roster in that Joe Thornton had all of the spotlights on him, and Patrick Marleau silently, quietly went about his business, and all he did was score over 500 goals and play more games than anybody else in the history of the league, a superstar in his own right and a Hall of Famer. I think that's what we're starting to see with these guys. You know, the fact that they both left college, which was a big gamble. They are working together to be part of that culture, and they're also starting to show some leadership. Will Smith's growth was really impressive to see. Celebrini's starting point was incredible, but also his ability to withstand some of the problems. Now, what they're going to face now is that everybody knows them now.
Right.
And so it's that second season. Do they have a little bit of a step back maybe, or do they really rocket forward? I think it's going to be fascinating to see how that all goes. We all know that it's sort of like a stock market chart where there's some volatility to the progress, but this is a pretty stable stock market chart for the San Jose Sharks for the future.
Right, final thing here, and it's not up to me to decide this or you to decide this, but I think it is a fun conversation. The Sharks are eventually going to have a new captain, and maybe that doesn't even happen this year. Who knows how it goes? But when it is that next person, and whoever that person is, what are the qualities that person needs to have as the next captain of this team, and considering where this group is at?
He needs to have the personality where people follow him. And that's a personality trait as much as it is, somebody who goes about his business and excels. You want a guy that excels, but you want to have a player that brings people together, that gets people to, under tough circumstances, follow him to do the right thing. In that regard, I think, everybody is looking at Mlin Celebrini as a potential captain for this team because he has that leadership capability. He has that hatred of losing. He has that good example every single day at every single practice kind of a mentality. And I think that's something that we're looking for, I think, from the next captain of the San Jose Sharks. Whether or not they name a captain of the team right away, or whether they wait until, let's say they think that he's the guy, that they'll wait till he's ready to assume that official role, I think is going to be one of the more fascinating parts of the next couple of seasons. And my guess is they're going to take their time. They may find somebody that's a veteran player that assumes that role. Remember a couple of years ago, Rob Blake was acquired and was named captain of the San Jose Sharks for a couple of years. I think that's something along the lines of what we might see here before they really anoint the next one.
Well, and speaking of acquiring new players, it's going to be an opportunity for the Sharks in free agency, one like we haven't seen in a long time. The team has to spend to get up to the salary cap floor. So I'll tell you what, I'll pause our conversation right there, Ruzi. We'll pick it up after free agency because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of new players to talk about. So Dan of the Sharks Audio Network, feels like you could call a game tonight if you had to.
I could. Let's go. Let's get this season started. I'm excited about it. I really am. I'm really excited about the upcoming free agency, the draft that the Sharks have with a couple of first-round picks, and so many more things. Thanks, Brodie.
Thank you, Ruzi.